This is where we make a commitment to change. When you make a commitment, when you decide,
right,
I'm doing this is happening, your commitment has to be so strong. You need your compelling vision, your compelling reason. Why do you want to have this business? Why do you want to be a coach? Why do you want to lose weight? What is it what's the why? Which I know that's kind of overused, but the truth is, if the answer to that question is so strong and gets you so fired up and you have an emotional response, that's what's going to keep your commitment.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We have someone amazing here today. Colleen, how are you? She was looking around. How are you?
Who, me?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. I'm great. I'm so honored to be on your podcast, you guys. Thank you so much.
We are honored to have you. It is literally the privilege is like ours. We're in front of someone that we've seen on TV. We've watched, we've followed. There's some major things that you're getting ready to be awarded. But by the time that this podcast drops, definitely it's already been announced to the world. So before we get started, could you just introduce yourself, tell the people who you are and how you're changing lives out here?
Yes, I'm happy to. So I'm Colleen Odegaard. I'm a certified life coach. I'm also a video and media coach, meaning I teach people how to be comfortable on camera so that they can connect with their perfect client, get more views, get more media attention. That's what I do. And I'm a podcast host. My podcast is called the Wake Up to Your Life podcast.
Love it.
Prior to doing this, people in Charlotte might know me from television. I worked in TV for almost 3 decades, doing live television 5 days a week, and I most recently at the NBC affiliate in Charlotte. But I left that a few months ago to go all in, baby, all in on this coaching business.
Definitely.
So that's what's happening now.
Definitely. So, it's interesting because 3 decades, that's a long time. That's a long time. And there was probably a lot of, I don't want to say fear, but there were a lot of feelings that would probably come into play before you actually took that leap of faith. Talk to me about that.
I would say there was a lot of fear. You were right in using the word fear. Absolutely. I mean, I had the idea of starting a podcast and of becoming a coach for years before I actually did anything about it.
Wow.
I mean, it was something that was marinating in my brain and in my heart. And, that still small, quiet voice inside of you that says, go do something. I knew that I wanted to do more, which sounds funny because I think people look at the TV career and think that's a really big, glamorous, fancy career. But I had outgrown it. It didn't fit me anymore. So I was kind of interested in this coaching thing. And then I thought, no, that's not really a job. I mean, a life coach. Who goes to a life coach? Do people really pay life coaches? That sounds so woo-woo. And then when I thought about doing the podcast, I thought, but I don't know how to do a podcast. And, if I'm going to have a business, then I got to create a website. I don't know how to make a website. All this, I don't know, which are the obstacles, right, which we can talk about more in just a moment. So yeah, there was a lot of fear and a lot of worry about putting myself out there. I thought that to be a life coach, I had to have it all going on. Mm-hmm. I had to have the perfect body, make $50K a month, live in a Mac Daddy house. Everything had to be so right, mm-hmm, because otherwise who would come to me to be their coach? Mm-hmm. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's not what it's about. That right, you can still serve people from your messy spots, that mm-hmm, you can still, and that's not the kind of coach I am. So, I was very fearful, though, to make that transition and even to just start it. So I was still working at the TV station when I started the coaching stuff as a side hustle, mm-hmm, and kind of was just toe dipping. I didn't even really let people know I was doing it.
Wow.
Because I was afraid.
Exactly.
Because I was afraid. What if people think I'm weird? What if they don't get me? What if I'm making a fool of myself on social media? What if I'm sharing too much? What if, oh God, I don't know. What if I don't get any clients? All my brain was filled with all these thoughts that were keeping me really small, and they were incorrect thoughts.
I love that. There were a lot of thoughts that were keeping me small. Mm-hmm. And you talked about that when you were working in TV for 3 decades, it just didn't fit for you anymore. How did you know that it didn't fit? What were the different things, the signs, the triggers that kind of were like, hey, we need to make a transition?
The soul-sucking dread that I felt when I was driving to work. No, and I don't mean to bash it because that served me well. There were certainly many elements of my job that I loved, and I will never poo-poo the career that I had, and and still have, because I think it afforded me the place. I think it's the reason people listen to my podcast, why they gave it a shot in the beginning. I didn't know if anyone would listen, so it just got to the point where TV was changing so much, and I felt like I was contributing to this sort of air pollution, noise pollution a little bit at times. And I longed to do something else is what it boiled down to. And I did have those feelings inside of me because I wanted to share my story. I spent my life telling other people's stories and promoting other people, which is great. And I still do that, and I love doing that. I'm a storyteller. I love telling other people's stories, but there was never any space for me to share any of mine. And it's so funny because in the past year, I've been a guest on 15 different podcasts. All those years I was working in TV, nobody asked me to come talk on their podcast.
Wow.
But the second I stopped and started sharing a little bit of what I really think and who I am, instead of acting like, TV anchor person is supposed to act and being real professional and appropriate, just kind of let loose and acted like myself, everything changed. But I think the reason I knew is that it was a feeling, Kyle. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, it was just kind of that, like at night when you're going to bed and you're just thinking about your day, and I go, what did I do? Did I make the world better today? Or did I? I don't think I did. And certainly there were times that, you can use TV for lots of good, for sure. And we did that, and I did that, and I'm proud of that. I just wanted to use my gifts in a different way.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So in the time that you were on TV, like the 3 decades, you talked about telling other people's stories, and then yours kind of was doing its thing in the background. What's one story that took place in your life over the 3 decades that you wish would have gotten more coverage from the people around you?
I think that... Well, so I have Tourette Syndrome, and which is a tic disorder, neurological disorder that is characterized by motor tics and verbal tics. Super weird, I know, because considering I was on TV every day, and you're like, you've got a tic disorder? Yes, I do. And I just, like, you won't see me tick right now, but on TV I never ticked. And I don't know that I wish it had gotten more coverage. I was not very vocal about it. I was something that I lived with so much shame for so long. I mean, well into adulthood, that I just didn't want that to be part of my story. You know how we try to abandon parts of our stories, the ugly ones, the ones we don't like, the one we screwed up, or when we drank too much, or you made you cheated or you lied. We don't like those parts of our story. Right. I didn't like Tourette Syndrome. I didn't want that to be part of my story. But guess what? It still is. God never delivered me from it. I mean, I still have it, no matter how much I prayed for it to go away. And I think that I should have used it more. That I should. It wasn't the fault of anyone around me. It was just that I held on to it because I didn't like it. But we can't help people,
right? If
we hoard our stories,
right?
We have to share them and hopefully find the elements that render universal. So while a lot of people might not have Tourette syndrome, everybody has something that they're ashamed of.
Exactly.
Right? Everybody has got something, and I like to say we all have our tics, if you will. And so I probably should have used that more. I talk about it now very openly. I did a podcast episode about it called "What the Tourette," and I like that. Tourette, and people really seem to enjoy it. So now I'm not ashamed of it anymore. And any of those things that are shameful in your life, when you bring them to light, they cannot survive anymore. That's what shame hates, is to be brought into the light. Right? So you talk about the things that you're like, oh man, I really screwed that thing up, or when I had this major business failing, or I lost thousands of dollars, or I trusted the wrong person. We don't want to talk about that. But when you do, it's like the sting and the shame goes away. So now you can't use Tourette syndrome against me. People can't make, not that you would, not you people, but of course, not you fine people, but people would make jokes about Tourette's, and I never would speak up if somebody made a comment. I remember one time I was doing the show and we had a band on, And they were warming up before the show, and the guy's like, "Man, I don't know, it's like I got Tourette's or something," because he kept screwing up. And that shame flooded over me when he said that, and I thought I should tell him, I should educate him. And do you know what? I didn't. I didn't.
So when was the first time you spoke up for yourself?
Oh my gosh. Just in general about anything? Or about the Tourette Syndrome? Just anything?
Anything.
I think by the time that I really started to speak up for myself wasn't until I became an adult person and started to learn how to do that. I mean, I think I was probably 30 years old before I really spoke up for myself, in a way that wasn't angry or confrontational. Like I had teenage angst. And so my parents probably would say that I spoke up for myself, but it wasn't in a mature sort of, hey, here's my boundary, and hey, here's what I think and feel, and hey, that's not okay. There were lots of things, lots of ways that I wish I had spoken up for myself earlier, and I know how to do it now. I know how to do that now, and I don't miss those opportunities. And that's what I always want people to find their voice for whatever it is. I mean, I've talked on my podcast before about I'm Vietnamese, I'm half Vietnamese. And so I did an episode talking about the racism that my mother went through and that I went through, and things that people called my mother and go back to your country, you can't speak English, and all the derogatory slurs that you hear for Asian people. And when I was a kid, like I used to hide my Asianness, if you will. Like it was not, I didn't identify with it. I considered myself white, and I think it was because it was easier than identifying with that. And now I speak up. Like, so when people would ask me like, "Oh, do you have ducks hanging in your kitchen?
Oh, wow.
Do you eat dogs?" "Oh, I'm not like all kinds of stuff, and I would just kind of ha ha ha. And now I'm like, why did I do that? Why didn't I speak up for myself? Why didn't I stand up for myself? Because I didn't have the confidence to do it. And I don't think I loved myself enough.
Did that cause you to feel any guilt?
Yes. Yes, it did. And I still to this day do feel guilty for the times that I have not spoken up when I should have. But guilt doesn't serve us, right? I mean, guilt is an adaptive emotion. So guilt's better than shame, right? Guilt is adaptive because you can go, that wasn't right. I'm going to do it different from here on out. And now I do. But yeah, and I will not back off of an uncomfortable conversation. Like at a nail salon, if I hear somebody speaking inappropriately to the Vietnamese nail technician, I will say, you don't have to speak louder. She can hear you.
Yeah.
She just doesn't understand what you're saying completely. Like, be cool, just be nice, Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on this tangent, but that's what makes me think of when you think about like speaking up for yourself. Those were ways I abandoned myself.
Wow. You have such a beautiful perspective,
Oh, thanks.
It's really interesting, and it's great because we podcast, I feel like, all the time. But it's a beautiful thing where we can sit back and actually learn from people's perspective while you are still reflective and being able to make those changes within your life as well. So I guess my next question for you is, you said that you started to speak up kind of in your adulthood. When do you, when you think of TV, that's not necessarily a place where you're given freedom to communicate. I'm trying to say this as politically correct as possible. You're not given freedom to communicate, share, or post different things that are meaningful to you because it could potentially affect your career. What is one thing that you experienced within TV that recreated the guilt or shame that you experienced as a child?
Well, to your point, yes, I had to be very guarded with what I said publicly all the time. I mean, even in my social life, it was sort of on display 24/7. I mean, like can't go out and tie one on and act crazy. Not that I would do that anyway necessarily, but you know, I just had to really mind what I said. Everything I said was very measured. Anything I would post on social media, which I didn't do much of when I was there, ironically, but I had to be very careful what I said on TV. But I think certainly there were instances where there were stories that we would cover that I would absolutely have a feeling about, have an opinion about, but was not allowed to express. And there's some inner turmoil that went on for me. And I think to your point earlier, Kyle, when you asked me, when did I know it was time to go? It was like when those rumblings I could not settle them down inside of me. When it was like, talking about this stuff, I really don't believe it. Or I'm not, this isn't in line with who I am anymore. Oh, I can't do it. But there were lots of times, I think, that I felt just, you know, where of course I had a strong opinion about something, but couldn't share it.
Exactly.
You know, yeah. And I'll probably just leave it at that.
Exactly.
Because you know, for now.
Definitely. So I guess, you know, we've gotten to the point where, you know, you had these realizations, you worked within TV for 3 decades, you made this transition, you're killing it right now. You're podcasting, you're coaching, you're inspiring people. What now and what next?
What now to keep coaching people and to become a better coach every day and to keep coaching people? Because the reason what draws me to coaching, specifically the life coaching, the video coaching too, because there's a lot of limiting beliefs that people have to get over when it comes to showing up on video and how to present themselves and how to share their story. It grieves my heart to see people living at a fraction of their potential. And that's what I was doing. Wow. And I stayed small on purpose because I was too scared to just like go for it, right? And I would watch other people with jealousy and envy in my heart. I'm guilty to say that, feel embarrassed to say that, but I did because I'd see other people doing things that looked cool to me that I kind of wanted to be doing, but I didn't have the guts to go out and do it. And it was like, well, she's not that great. I mean, what's she doing? Like who? That's not who I am. I'm not that kind of a woman, you know? And I thought, what is this ugliness that I'm like, what am I feeling? Like, that's time to take stock. Like, if you feel, anyone who's listening, if there's someone you think of and it makes you feel a little jealous or a little envious, like, pull on that thread for a minute, because it might be an indication of something that you want to create in your life. And here's the beautiful thing, my friends, you can. The only thing that's standing between you and the life that you want to create is what's going on in your brain. You can use your thoughts on purpose to change your life. I changed my life from my soul-sucking career into the business I have now by thinking one new thought at a time. And that is, so you ask me what is next? What's next is I am hell-bent on teaching other people how to manage their minds to create more of a life that is a reflection of who they are on the inside. That's what I want to do. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I'm not for being a life coach, you'd think I'd have more freaking concrete goals, right? but I just know that I love the work of the coaching. And when people get this, when they get it, that it's what they're thinking, it changes everything. And people don't believe me. They don't want to, some of my clients don't like doing the painstaking work of it because I'm like, what are your thoughts? Like, I don't know. No, I'm not going to let you off the hook with I don't know. I don't know is not a good answer. Right. Force yourself to come up with an answer, right? What I tell people, your thoughts create your feelings drive your actions create your results. So if you're thinking, well, I can't make any money doing that. I can't lose any weight. I can't find love. I'm not going to fall in love with somebody at this age. I can't do that. I don't know how to make a website. I don't know how to do a podcast. If you think things like that, you're damn right. None of those things are going to happen for you. Because how do you feel when you think low vibe, crappy thoughts like that? You feel bad about yourself. When you feel bad, what actions do you take? Nothing. You go watch Netflix and drink wine and eat chips, right? You just check out. What's your result? No podcast, no book, no business, no dates, no promotion, no money, nothing. if you can now look at what do you think, the things that are going through your brain, what are you thinking about? All right, like how does that even serve? So when I was thinking, so I'll use myself as an example. Am I talking too much?
No.
Okay.
I'm taking notes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to be a good guest. Well, because when you ask what's next, I think this is what's next. Like just telling as many people as I can, if you can figure this out, you can change your life, right?
Exactly.
So when I was in TV, and I was thinking, this is all I know how to do. I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know how to do anything else. This is all I know how to do. So I'll only ever make this much money. I'll only ever be here. This is what I should do. And I'll just be grateful and I should just be thankful. Yet there was a disconnect inside. I didn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. I didn't think, coaching's not a real job. Mm-hmm. People don't make money coaching. I won't get any clients. These were the thoughts I was thinking. I wrote all of these down in my thought journal, wrote down everything. You see it on paper and you go, well, no wonder I don't want to look into coaching programs because I'm thinking coaching's not a real job. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking I can't make any money. I'm thinking I'm never going to get any clients. Okay, so let's poke around in those thoughts. Is that even true? Well, no, because there are lots of coaches who make money. Mm-hmm. Coaching is a real job. I actually went out and talked to people who are coaches who make money, and I thought, okay, it is a real job. Okay. All right. And I changed the thought of I can't do anything else to I'm capable of learning new things. Mm. Even that thought, right? Just changing that thought, I'm capable of learning new things, gives me a little more pep in my step, exactly. Right? Gives me a little bit more confidence. If I'm feeling more confident, then it's like, hell yeah, I'll check out that program. Okay. And then I became certified. And I'm boiling it down to the simplest form, but when you really get in and you dissect the things that you're thinking, and when you realize that not every thought you think is true,
right,
boom, like blows your mind. Mm-hmm. People think that everything they're thinking is just factual. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just, Keon and Kyle, maybe they didn't like me. Maybe they thought I was a loudmouth. I talk too much. Like, is that even true? Like, it's just a thought going through my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And we tend to think, when we overthink, we tend to think of negative thoughts, right?
Exactly.
We're not thinking how awesome we are. We're thinking that we're not capable of things. Mm-hmm. So it's you can apply that thoughts, feelings, and actions to anything in your life to change your life.
I have so many thoughts, right? Because, we were just having this conversation yesterday about, it's kind of like, when you get the text, hey, we need to talk in a relationship. Like,
I was thinking that when she said that.
It's something negative. Or like,
and it might not be
It
negative.
really not. It's like, hey, we just need to have a conversation. Or like, when you're a kid and you're in school and the principal calls you to the office, automatically the whole class, ooh. Mm-hmm. But it's like they could be giving you an award or they could be giving you something else. So I believe that a lot of times, when we do shift our thoughts, there's responsibilities that follow, but there's also a storm that follows. So my question for you, and what I mean by that, just kind of preface it a little bit. When we shift our thoughts and we say, I am capable of learning new things, now you have a responsibility to actually take action and go learn some new things. Mm-hmm. When you shift your thoughts and you realize that I'm capable of new things, the storm then follows as well, because then the negative feelings are going to come. Well, I don't know where to find these new things, or what should I learn about? And then you just start asking yourself all of these different questions, and then you end up don't taking action. So my question, it's a dual question. Mm-hmm. How do you, when someone finally shifts their thoughts, they're listening, they're like, oh my God, they're writing their thoughts down right now, and then they have all these great thoughts, but then all these negative thoughts, and a responsibility comes, how do they take action? Mm-hmm. And then a storm comes, that negative thoughts come, how do they block it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. Because you're totally right. All the negative stuff comes up, and then we don't take any action. That's exactly what happens when you begin to disrupt your life. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get easier. It gets scarier and harder. Exactly. But I don't say that to discourage anybody. It's just knowing how to manage your mind, which is going to get you through that. So I would say that the negative thoughts aren't going to stop. So as the storm comes, right, you go like, I'm going to start a business. Okay? And you're all excited, and you maybe talk to a business coach, and you're like, yes, I'm on fire for this. Ooh, I'm going to kill it. Yeah, I'm going to make $1 million or whatever, right? You're all excited. That's the easy part. That's the fun part. The hard part comes then when you have to make your website, and you have to sell your offering, your product or your service, and now no one's coming, and you're like, oh, now this sucks, and you're having the negative thought. The storm comes, right? I would say you have to expect the storm to come. You have to expect the obstacles to come. Don't be in la la land like, it's just going to be great. I'm just going to open my doors for business and everyone's going to come. Expect you're going to fail. Expect you're going to make mistakes. Expect that you're going to host a free webinar and nobody's going to show up. Right? Expect it.
I love that because I know Kyle's about to get at it because I say that and Kyle thinks I'm being negative and he's
I was going to challenge
see,
that.
I know.
I'm coming
I think
for you,
the same
Colleen.
way, and I'm like, I can better manage it if I expect that to happen. So anything that happens above that, I'm grateful for it.
So, and you can challenge me on that because I do have some thoughts about getting your hopes up. I actually did a podcast called Get Your Hopes Up because I do believe that we should expect good things. However, what I mean is expect that some things are not going to work out right. Okay, expect that. That way, when they happen, the obstacle gives you a roadmap. Like if you can. This is a little like, now we're getting in coaching weeds here, but if you can look at the obstacle and instead of going, oh, nobody came, oh my God, forget it, right?
I expected this.
To go, okay, nobody came. All right, maybe it was something in my strategy, in how I launched it. Maybe I didn't talk about it enough. Maybe the wording was wrong. Maybe I wasn't speaking to my ideal client. Like, that's what I mean. The obstacle provides you with the strategy. If you can get over yourself and not get all wounded and have a pity party and not make it mean that you suck. That's why people don't like the failure, because they kick their own ass on the other side of it. They say, oh, well, see, I knew it. I suck and I can't do anything else. Hold up. That's not the problem. You might need to maybe your offering isn't good enough. Maybe you do need to acquire more skills, right? Maybe you do need to better yourself. But let's look at it as data, not like everything is not an indictment of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So I don't know if I answered your question. Okay, so what do we do when the negative thoughts come? I think we expect that they're going to come and know that they're just thoughts. This is when it comes back to write that stuff down. Write it down. Write down what you're thinking. I'm thinking my business is going to fail. I'm thinking I don't have what it takes. I'm thinking I'm an imposter. I'm thinking no one's going to buy from me when they can buy from someone else who's more experienced or older or more successful. I'm thinking there's no room for me. I'm thinking there's no room for me to write a book because there's lots of books out there and I'm not going to be a bestseller, so what's the point? You write all that down. And then you go, well, no wonder I'm losing steam. I'm feeling defeated. When I feel defeated, what's the action I take? Nothing. I hide. What's the result? No book, no podcast, no business, no clients, no money. So even when the negative thoughts come up, we run another thought model on it. You go back and look at what you're thinking, change the thought, and question it. So that's the second part of your question. What was the first part of your question?
No, you hit both of them.
I did? Okay.
You hit both of them.
Okay.
We're going to go on commercial.
Okay.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So I know Kyle is ready to do a rebuttal.
No, not a rebuttal at all. It's just interesting. I love learning new perspectives. I just challenge it from the perspective of, I think a lot of people, and this isn't to bash anyone. This isn't to create any controversy, which I like to do. I believe that a lot of people, I wrote down first, they don't possess the emotional maturity. But you continue to say, manage your mind, manage your mindset. I don't believe that a lot of people, especially at the early stages of making a tough decision, don't possess the mindset maturity. So what I mean by that is now I've gotten to the point now. So Kiana will come to me for advice in entrepreneurship. I've done this for 6 years and I've been an entrepreneur. I've failed. I've come back. I'm only thinking optimistic because I believe in all of my strategies. I believe that I will pull this off. I don't come in thinking if we don't have enough clients or if I don't have this, because everything that I've done has worked
for you.
Literally. I don't know if it's faith or favor or just I'm a damn good strategist, but I'm really good. However, when she comes at me and it's like, hey, what if this happens or what if this happens? I'm like, I don't know. Don't even think about that. What are you talking about? I'm a winner. Like, we think of winning. So I think because she's in I just had a realization. I think because she hasn't had the years of failing, because I think at my early stages, it was that. And then it created this fear to not jump back out. And then I started to jump back out again. And then years later, I'm now at the place where like losing definitely happens, but I'm planning for a win anytime. So talk to that point, I guess.
So I do like that. I
Okay.
actually believe in that. So to clarify what I was saying earlier, it's not that I think you should walk around doing something, go, I'm going to do it, but it's probably not going to work. Don't think that, because then I would say it won't work. What I mean is, just as you are entering entrepreneurship space or anything new, even if it's not starting your own business, any new thing, a new relationship, a new exercise program, a new diet, whatever, right? Don't go in thinking it's not going to work. If you go in thinking that, it won't. I'm just saying, expect obstacles, expect road bumps, expect those things. And when they happen, not to now take it personally and be like, oh, I'm terrible, I'm the worst, I should just give up and eat pancakes. That's not what I'm saying. It's just know that the obstacles are going to come and go like, okay, I know what to do when this happens.
Exactly.
I'm going to manage my mind. So that's what I mean. So I do agree with you. I think that I like that you go in like, yeah, of course this is going to work. That's badass. And I like it. And more people need some of that, right? Because my clients will say this, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I know it's probably not even going to work. Like, well, why would you say that? Of course it's going to work. Like, this is where we make a commitment to change. When you make a commitment, when you decide, I'm doing this, this is happening, your commitment has to be so strong. You need your compelling vision, your compelling reason. Why do you want to have this business? Why do you want to be a coach? Why do you want to lose weight? What is it what's the why? Which I know that's kind of overused, but the truth is, if the answer to that question is so strong and gets you so fired up and you have an emotional response, that's what's going to keep your commitment. So of course it's going to work. Like if you went all in, balls to the wall with something, and you're like, I'm not stopping until I get there, you're going to get there. Like, it's just the truth of the matter. We give up the second it gets uncomfortable or hard or didn't go quite right, and then we go like, it's a sign. It might be, like I said, it might be a sign that you need to hone your skills. It might be a sign that you're not quite ready, that you might need to learn more things, but you can keep going. You can keep going.
I love this, Colleen. And I know you got something. We're going to switch it up on you, though. We're going to switch it up.
Go for it.
All right. So in the middle of the table is a red box. In that box are questions. If you could get the box, pick a question, read the question, and answer it for us.
How fun you guys are. Oh, my gosh. What is one thing that you're doing now that would make your younger self proud? This is going to make me cry a little bit. I don't know why this is making me feel emotional, but it does. I think my younger self would not even believe where I am today. You know, I think about my younger Tourette Syndrome ticky self, which I still have it, but who thought... this is surprisingly makes me emotional. I think that, like, growing up in the house I did, it was just really not close to my family, and had a very difficult upbringing there was mental illness and substance abuse and lots of craziness going on. And then I had Tourette Syndrome. And I just never thought that good things happen for girls like me. I didn't believe that. It was a thought. Like, I'm not like the pretty popular girls, like that. The good things don't happen for girls like me. So I think that even just the fact that I use my voice now and I tell my stories, and that I'm open about it, and I don't have to hide it anymore, I think that's the thing my younger self would be so proud of.
Wow. I have a question.
Yeah.
And I love that question.
That's a really nice question. I like that question.
There's a lot of people, and before we started recording, you asked, like, you know, who's your audience, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that listen and sit in the same place that you were as that young girl growing up in that tough household. If you could speak to that 14 or 13-year-old young lady, that girl that you thought wouldn't be this woman that you are now, what would you say to her?
I'd tell her that you are lovable and you are worthy. You're doing awesome. It's going to be okay. Like, that God is with you in in all of it, even when you don't feel it. And even for, I'm not trying to be Bible thumper God squad right now for people who might not be believers. Even if you can connect to something divine, right? Something outside of yourself that and that sense of being held and loved, I believe it is by God. But I would tell her that you are loved and you are worthy, because everything comes from that place. When we know that we know that we know that we know, even when we F up, that we're still loved and still worthy, that's when you care for yourself. That's when you nurture yourself. That's when you go, my dreams do matter. Like, we dismiss those longings in our heart because we think that it's crazy talk, it's nutty. No, like when you love yourself, you think, yeah, that must mean something. Like because I'm worthy and I'm lovable and I'm valuable. Like the things I think and feel matter. Even if the people around me don't acknowledge it, it does matter. It's like believing that. So I would tell her that, and I would tell everybody that no matter what it is that you pay attention to those things that you think, that still small voice inside of you that speaks to you, that you ignore, and you stuff it down with food or booze or shopping or Netflix or checking out, inaction, hiding your shadow self, right? Pay attention to that, because you are lovable and worthy and valuable. And because of that, what you think and what you feel matters.
That's good. That's so good. And just to kind of continue to expound on that, they create that belief. They believe that. They believe that they matter. They start to see it. What would be your action steps for them to start loving themselves, though?
Yeah, because that's so important. And I love that you say that, because a lot of my life coaching clients who come to me, they want to do this thing, right? But they don't love themselves. So we have to work on that first, because you can go start taking actions toward, growing your real estate business. But if you don't love yourself first, you won't be able to do that, because the second the storm comes, right, then you're like, oh, it's hard, it's scary, yuck, I'm going back into my hiding place. So this sounds hokey. It sounds so hokey, but affirmations really do work. I mean, I am a big believer in affirmations. Whatever it is, I am enough. That's a good one, because I think it covers a lot of, like, oh, my kid screwed this up and I'm enough. We ate pizza for dinner and I'm enough. I lost that sale and I'm enough. I like that it covers everything. But I think that really working on affirmations, like what is it that you want to believe and feel about yourself, right? And spend some time in that. 25 years ago, I was working with a therapist who made me write down, like, I, Colleen, am lovable. She made me write down a piece of paper. And she's like, now what comes up for you? I'm like, all the reasons I'm not lovable is what comes up for me. The second I'd write that down, it was like, well, I'm not lovable. I mean, I binge eat. I'm not lovable. I, told a lie. I'm not lovable, because I, like, all the reasons that I thought I wasn't lovable came up. And she said, now write it down again. Now what's coming up? And I'd write it down 21 times. I, Colleen, am lovable. And like, by the time I wrote it for the 21st time, it was like I started to believe it. So it is replacing the old thoughts with new thoughts, with higher vibe, believable thoughts to you, and to really work on. It takes time. I would say that it is a practice to love oneself. And I will preach a little bit here, because when you know that God loves you and that you are not a mistake, you are here on purpose. You are here on purpose, and that God loves you so much. You are made in his image. Like, how can you not love yourself? You have to. Right? So it is just a practice. It's spending time in it. It's noticing if you tell yourself you're lovable and go like, oh God, no, I'm not. People don't know the thing that I did. I screamed at my kids. I am lovable, and I'm lovable, and I'm enough. To keep on saying it to yourself. I talk to myself. People probably think I'm nuts. I walk my dog, and I'm having conversations with myself, and I don't even care. I don't even care. I tell myself, like, Colleen, you're doing so great, because I get really insecure. I know you think it seems weird. I don't seem like I'm insecure. I get insecure about my business all the time. Every time I post on Instagram, I'm like, is that okay? I'm still working on it. So I have to tell myself, like, you're doing great. You're exactly where you need to be. There's no rush. You're doing good things. Like, keep being you. Keep trying to contribute to to be helpful, not hurtful. Let your words be helpful, not harmful. As long as I operate from my values, then I think, okay, I'm doing okay. So that's what I would encourage other people to. But to really decide that you've had enough of the self-loathing, where does that get you? It never gets you anything. You can't shame your way into a better body. You can't shame your way into a promotion at work. You can't shame your way into starting a business. You can't. It comes from a place of caring for yourself and like getting worked up about yourself and going like, my ideas are so good. I can't wait to tell people about them. Like to feel that. Isn't that better?
Much, yeah.
So much more powerful. And people don't believe me that they can get there. Yes, you can, but you have to do this work on purpose.
Exactly. I asked this question a few weeks ago, but I'm really interested in hearing your response because you've talked a lot about the growth of that young girl to where you are right now as this woman that's continuing to change lives. If you could sit in front of Colleen 10 years from now, like your 10-year-old or 10-plus-year-old self, what questions would you ask?
What would I ask my 10-year from now, Colleen? What would I ask her? Oh, I would ask her, did we do a good job? Are you proud? Are you proud of who you've become? That's what I would ask. I want to make myself proud. You know,
exactly.
I do. I want to make myself proud. I want to go like, did you blow your mind with what you've created here? Like, yeah. How do we do? Did you do your best? Did you work with excellence? You know, did you show up? No more sitting on the sidelines. Did you show up and participate and participate in your life, not sit on the sidelines of your life?
This has been great.
It really has.
This has really been great.
It really has.
And Colleen, you're the TV person. So what would be one question for all of those people that want to get started? They want to jump. They want to. They feel that inside in their soul that this isn't right. I want something different. What would be the one question that you would charge people to ask themselves that are listening right now to start that movement in their lives?
I'd say, what's keeping you from doing it? What's holding you back? Because the answers to that question provide those are your obstacle thoughts, right? But those provide the strategy and the roadmap, right? So doesn't sound like a very exciting question, but really, like, what's keeping you from doing it? Well, no money, no time, too busy, can't do it, never going to work, right? Those are just your fears. When you look at what they are, they're not necessarily even true. They could just be fears. And then I would encourage them after that to take one teeny tiny little baby step toward that thing, whether it's just reaching out to someone who might be able to provide some wisdom or some guidance, or researching a program, or doing one baby step, because those baby steps over time can change your life.
This has been good.
This
has been so good. Anybody listening right now, please go back through your notes. Create your objection list of all of the different things that you're fearing, all of the different things that are the obstacles, all of the different lies that you continue to tell yourselves, all of those self-limiting beliefs, and begin to reflect on those so that you can manage your mind and recreate all of your thoughts on things that are actionable, that will help propel you forward, just like Colleen has done through this whole episode and through her whole life. Create a dramatic step in your life by first taking one small step. This is Around the Way podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.
Bye, guys.